leaving home and checking out. That's a theme for this talk. Here's two expressions about leaving. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. That's one. The next one is, in going and returning, we never leave home. The first one is from those teachers, the Eagles, Hotel California, you might know. And the second is from Master Hakuin. One is a picture of samsara. You probably know which one that is. And the other is an expression of the awakened life. Right? And the difference is whether you check out or not. Okay? I cut to the chase there. So I'll see if I can bring that alive for you. Okay. Yeah, samsara. This vision, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Yeah, you can never leave. That's very ominous, isn't it? It's a very dark image. You know, this whole song actually is about the kind of the dark side of the American dream, right? Everything you ever wanted is in California. We go and get everything we want. And that leads us really to a very dark existence, imprisoned by our desires, imprisoned by our fantasies, by our comparisons, by our desire to escape pain and suffering. What is checking out? Well, it's like, in one way, it's settling our account. Right? When you check out of the hotel, settling the account. Okay, I got my value, here's my money, all done. Okay, clean, we're done, checked out. I no longer inhabit that room, I no longer care about that place, no longer part of my life, I'm out of here. That kind of checking out. In this sense, it's very transactional, it's very abrupt, and it even leads to a kind of separation, potentially. Right? I got value, here's my exchange, and I'm done, and I'm out of here. I got what I got, thank you. I paid my debt. I don't even have to pay any more attention to this place, or pay any respect to it. I'm kind of making this hyperbolic, but checking out. I mean, it does apply emotionally too. We use that term, checking out emotionally. Right? You're not available anymore. You don't have a capacity. You don't care. Right? You're no longer in a respectful exchange of give and take, of paying attention, listening, speaking from your heart. And hey, you know, sometimes we get saturated. Sometimes we don't have capacity for a relationship, a conversation, an issue, a matter. Okay, it's okay. That's one thing to have that, but checking out is a decision. That's to say, I'm choosing to turn away, just disengage emotionally. So if you check out like this, ultimately you are going to be trapped. You're not going to be able to leave samsara when you check out. Right? Leaving samsara requires checking in. Because practice, the awakened life, it doesn't work according to this transactional logic. Okay? Here's my debt, I'm going to pay it off. Done, I don't have to care anymore. It's not the awakened life. That's not our life of practice. But we have really strong tendencies to think in transactional terms, right? In many, many aspects of our life. I think it's hard actually not to think transactionally. What I'm giving and what I'm getting. We want some kind of a balance, we want a fairness in that exchange value. It's in relationships, what I'm getting and what I'm giving. It's in our work, what I'm getting, what I'm giving. I'm not saying those things aren't important, but they most certainly are not definitive. And if you think that's the whole story, then you're missing a whole lot. Suzuki Roshi had some things that I found interesting on this score that come from this newish book, which some of you are aware of, some of you may not be. It's a new edited compilation of his talks called Becoming Yourself, Teachings on the Zen Way of Life. And this was mostly edited by Mel Weitzman. It's very good. It's very good. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind is really good, as I'm sure all of you know. And a lot of the genius of that book is the way it was edited from all his talks. There's a lot of recorded talks from him. But so the art has often come down to how it's edited and compiled. And that was the case with that book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, which I believe Richard Baker did most of the editing work on. And I don't think it was quite the case with some other books and compilations of Suzuki Roshi's work. And the magic is back with this one. It is, and I've experienced that. Shoen has studied this book and recommended it to me, and he finds it to be the same. And I actually just had the opportunity to talk with Zenki Dillo Roshi a couple of days ago about this. And he, as you know, is a successor of Baker Roshi's and is very familiar with the teachings, and is also just shared with me something of the character of Mel Weitzman, who's the teacher who did the primary editing on this book. And he had a lot of respect. Zenki has a lot of respect for Mel Weitzman. He passed away a few years ago. And he shared with me that Mel Weitzman Roshi was considered by many people to have the successor of Suzuki, who was most like him in spirit and character. So I can't speak to that, but that's what I heard from Zenki. And Zenki himself, loves this translation or this compilation. So I just wanted to give a little blurb and a promo, for that. I recommend it. But in this book, he's got a short chapter on money. And Suzuki Roshi says, you may think if you pay for something with money, then you don't owe anything to anyone. But there's something missing in that idea. Okay? That's the check-in, check-out mindset. Here's what I owe, here you go, we're done. Suzuki says there is something you cannot pay for. And that is the true value of what is given to you by Buddha. What we receive, what we have received in this life, what we are in possession of right now, this life, this body, this awareness, this capacity. We can't pay money for that. Not at all. And yet, are we in debt? I think so. I think so. Okay. I feel a boundless debt to life. I feel a boundless debt to my ancestors. I feel a boundless debt to my teachers. I feel a boundless debt to many, many people in my life who have been a part of my life. So how do we pay for that which we cannot pay money for? What is our part of that exchange? Well, Dogen's attitude is that we must always have great respect for all things. Great respect for all things, great appreciation, in Mazumi's kind of key term, for all things. So that's what I say, how we exchange. We don't pay in money, we pay in attention, we pay in respect, and we pay in appreciation. Checking out is denying this entire dimension. How we're called to pay respect, pay attention, and pay appreciation. Because really our account is never settled. This is how I see it. The account is never settled. We're always called to meet life with respect and to atone for the consequences of our actions. We have our fusatsu in a few hours later on this afternoon. That's our renewal of the vow ceremony, where we express our willingness and desire to atone for our past actions, body, mouth, and thought. This atonement is the opposite of checking out. It's checking in. This is a respectful and an appreciative exchange with our past, with our people, with our community, with the world. So we've talked about checking out. Now let's talk about leaving and not leaving. In the samsaric view, when you leave, you leave. When you don't, you don't. And you can never leave the prison of human life. But we have the freedom to leave, right? We leave the zendo, we leave home, we leave practice sometimes. And then we leave our body. So leaving is real, isn't it? You know, the old term for a monk was a home leaver, one of the terms. So that expressed a kind of a desire to leave a certain life, a certain kind of life, and embrace another kind of life, you know, the spiritual life, the spiritual path. It's more like, I don't think it should be home leaver, I think it should be household leaver. It's kind of leaving a certain way of being a part of a household, leading a household, managing a household, in another way. It's not really leaving home, because we're going to get to the, that in a moment. But we can leave a certain lifestyle. So we should respect those. We should respect those. But can we, like Hakuin says, within all of those comings and goings, never leave home? Okay, so, Song of Zazen, Hakuin. How can we be freed from the wheel of samsara? The Hotel California that we're all checked into. The gateway to freedom is Zazen Samadhi, beyond exaltation, beyond all our praises, the pure Mahayana. Observing the precepts, repentance, and giving, the countless good deeds and the way of right living all come from Zazen. And if we turn inward and prove our true nature in going and returning, we never leave home. This is what we all want, isn't it? In going and coming, we never leave home. Yeah? I mean, that's what we all want. That place, the belonging, the presence, the authenticity, the connection, the intimacy of never leaving home. And to not have that be dependent on anything, on any place, on any person, on any condition. But no matter what, or where, or how you are to be home. I don't know about you, but this possibility, promise, is one of the things that drew me to Zen. Could this be true? Yeah. So that's our practice. It's finding, discovering, and then inhabiting the home that we never leave. But there's a sequence here. Right? So, the gateway to freedom is Zazen Samadhi. Okay, and then a few lines later, he says, all of these things come from Zazen. Okay, so Zazen's the gateway, the entry, and the source. Yeah? Okay, but what comes from that? This is really important. Observing the precepts, repentance, and giving. The countless good deeds and the way of right living. We don't go from Zazen to liberation. I mean, in a way we do, but that's with the biggest understanding of what Zazen is. Okay? Within that, essentially, must be observing the precepts, repentance, and giving the way of right living and countless good deeds. Zazen's the source and the gateway. Those are the path. Liberation is the fruit. In going and returning, we never leave home. That's the fruit. To see that true self is no self. Form is no form. I've spoken a bit about the Brahma Viharas over the last month or so, and you might recall that the Brahma Viharas, which are loving kindness, compassion, joyful sympathy, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. The formal translation of that word Brahma Viharas is divine abodes. So that's the home That's the home. That in all of our comings and goings, we can never leave. We can stay in. It's the divine abode versus Hotel California. Sorry to push the metaphor, but it works, right? The divine abodes. Yeah. So if you check out, no divine abode. Check in, appreciation, respect, and atonement. Divine abode. And what does that look like? What does it feel like? Kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity. What a lovely home. Yeah, what a lovely home. What a lovely home. For all beings. For all beings. So we're in service, being in that home. It is a home of mutual service with each other and all beings. So we have another half day today, and then we have another half day tomorrow, and we have an evening. So we have a lot of Zazen, we get to do, but it's all, Zazen is the gateway and the source. There's so much within our Zazen, and so much that comes from our Zazen. I hope you're all feeling that. I hope that's all deepening and flowing for you. Zazen to open up. It's so rich, it's so nourishing. Yeah. So, thank you for coming together and doing this practice all together. And then we're really bringing this home alive. We're actualizing it, not as an idea, but as a real living place. We're transforming. We're transforming our lives, and we're transforming our shared life here into this quality. So keep going in our practice today. Thank you.